Thank you for attending Jamf's Apple IT Management 101 webinar. My name is Nick Thompson, and I'll be taking you through all about Apple Management 101 here. Today's agenda is going to include the tenets of device management. So what does it really mean to manage computers, both Macs and PCs? We're going to break that down. We're then going to dive into an overview of the Casper Suite, where we'll walk through the basics of what our software can do to help you manage your Macs. We'll then move into a device management workflow. We'll show you kind of a typical workflow that most IT departments use for managing their devices. We'll then do a hands-on demo of the Casper Suite, and we'll finish with a Q&A session. So, let's take a look at the tenets of device management. We really see three core pillars making up device management, and that is inventory, which is really the ability to track all of your assets, whether that's hardware or software. Deployment, which is the ability to hand out devices to your users. You want to be able to have a consistent process for when you bring on new employees or when you have new students come in at the beginning of the year, so that they have their devices that they need and it's all set up with everything. And of course, security. That's the ability to meet your organization's compliance needs. There are so many different compliances out there and a number of security settings for both the Mac and iOS devices, and we want to be able to manage all that together. Now, beyond these three core tenets, there are several other aspects that most IT departments need to think about when it comes to device management. Again, this goes beyond just Mac. This can be applied to PCs in general too. We need to think about patch management, the need to update all of your software. Software distribution, the need to hand out new apps to employees. Remote control, providing assistance via screen sharing. Settings management, and to pick and choose what settings are turned on and turned off. License management, keeping track of your paid software titles. User management, controlling who has access to what. And usage management, controlling who has access to things when. And of course, imaging, where you can build and deploy images. All of these are critical for device management in general. Now, of course, since we're talking about Apple, we need to mention Apple's deployment programs. This is an umbrella program that Apple has rolled out over the past few years that has really made the lives of anyone deploying Apple products much, much easier. I'm not going to go too deep into each one of these since we have webinars based all around these specific topics, but I'll give you a quick overview here. First, there's the Device Enrollment Program, or DEP. This enables zero-touch enrollment, where you can literally hand a Mac or an iPad or an iPhone to an end user, have them unbox it, and it be automatically enrolled for you. It's wonderful. It makes life easy. Next, there's something called the Volume Purchase Program, or VPP, which lets you buy apps in bulk and distribute licenses to your users. You can even recall those licenses once your employees or students have left and give them to new employees or students. And finally, there's an Apple ID program specifically for students who are under 13. So this is an education-only program, but it allows you to create Apple IDs specifically for students. Now, let's take a look at an overview of the Casper Suite. To start, we are Jamf Software, and we help organizations succeed with Apple. We've really been managing Macs for a long time now, starting in 2002, long before they were popular. Our main product is something called the Casper Suite. And the Casper Suite is a set of administrative tools that help you manage your Apple devices. At the heart of this suite is the JSS, or the Jamf Software Server. That's the management server component. It also includes a set of applications that run natively on Mac OS X. These apps are for Mac management by building packages for deployment, remote access to client machines, imaging, as well as enrollment. It also includes apps for end users, such as Casper Focus and Self-Service. All of these together make up the Casper Suite. The JSS, or again, Jamf Software Server, acts just like a web server, and you can access it via any web browser. And it communicates to your devices over the internet, specifically over HTTPS. The JSS can run on a OS X, Windows, or Linux server for on-premise deployments. And it will work with just about any modern server. Make sure you check out our tech specs online, though. We also offer a service where we can host the JSS for you in the cloud. At Jamf, we really believe in the power of and. We know that you have a lot of existing software, infrastructure, and tools that you need, and we try to make your lives easier by integrating with all of that. So we can help you deploy and track software inside the Casper Suite. We integrate with your existing IT infrastructure, such as your wireless networks that you have, your VPN services that you use, file shares, printers, etc. We also leverage native Apple technologies inside the suite, where we can use things like FileVault 2 for encryption, or the DEP and VPP programs that we talked about earlier, all of which make it really easy to leverage these native technologies. We, of course, work with third-party tools as well, whether you're using something like CrashPlan to back up all your Macs to the cloud, or using routers like AeroHive, or even deploying VMs like Parallels or VM Fusion. And we fit into your directory services as well. So whether you're using Active Directory or any other LDAP service, and if you're using things like Exchange, we help you do that. All of that stuff, though, is focused on the back end. Self-service is for your users. Self-service is like your internal app store or app catalog. And it can be populated by you, the IT admin, by whatever you would like your users to have access to. These can be apps, they could be various settings, they could even be printer drivers or links out to helpful locations, all of which you define as the IT manager. So that's the Casper Suite overview. Now let's look into the meat of this here, the device management workflow, what somebody would typically go through when managing Apple devices. The typical workflow would usually start something around like this, deploying the hardware. They would typically move on to then needing to inventory that hardware and keep track of it all. After hardware is done, you need to start looking at the software that you need to deploy. And of course, you need to inventory that same software too. Since a lot of software titles are paid and are really assets to your organization, it makes sense to keep track of them just like you would keep track of hardware. Next, you need to secure your resources by thinking about what sort of security settings that you need to apply to these devices. And finally, supporting your users, whether that's through IT tickets or through remote control. Now, this is laid out in a linear fashion here, but really, we both know that this is a circular or endless cycle. And that's why we built the Casper Suite, is to help with all of these stages of device management. So what we're going to do is we're going to dive into each of these stages and take a look at them in a little bit more of a granular view. Let's begin with deploying hardware. Deploying hardware typically starts with some sort of imaging process. And that's where the Casper imaging tool comes into play. This allows you to build and deploy images all within the Casper Suite. And you can put in packages on top of a base OS, or you can do sort of monolithic imaging where you take the entire snapshot of it, or you can do thin imaging where you only just image a little bit of it, or you can do a zero-touch imaging, almost like over-the-air imaging, and that would be with device enrollment program. We, of course, leverage native tools like disk utility. Again, you can enroll the devices using either DEP for automatic enrollment, or you can enroll them via a website. In fact, we integrate with some third-party routers to direct traffic of unmanaged devices back to your specific enrollment URL. And lastly, Active Directory binding. Macs can be bound to AD, and Casper Suite really helps you accomplish this. And if you don't use AD, it will integrate with just about any standard LDAP service out there. Next in our wheel, we've got inventory hardware. So the first step of this is to look at asset management. That's why we've created an app called Recon that's part of the suite that will scan your network for any unmanaged Macs that you have. This is great because sometimes you start off without knowing really how many devices you have out there. Once you can wrangle them all in, you probably want to know about the warranty information on these devices. So we integrate with Apple's Global Service Exchange Program, or GSX, for AppleCare information. Note, GSX isn't available everywhere, and you do have to sign up for a specific account for this, but it really, really helps keep track of that warranty information, so you can plan for the future when it comes time to refresh your hardware. You can also do some network organization, so you can segment all of your inventory out via sites. For example, here at Jamf, we have a Minneapolis office, we've got an Eau Claire office, a New York office, and Amsterdam office. We can segment our inventory based on those specific sites. A lot of schools use that too at, like, say, a district level, and they organize it by the different schools that are in the district. You can set all this up inside of the JSS. Now, if you don't want to do sites, you can also segment out via IP ranges. So if your IPs are from X to Y, they can be under one segment, and if they're under from Y to Z, they can be in a separate one. Makes it really, really easy. Now we look at deploying software and content. Software distribution is really the starting point here. And that's why we created an app called Composer, which again is part of the suite, which helps you build your own custom package files. That's .pkg and DMG files. And the way this process works is really, really simple. You simply download whatever you'd like to package up. Let's say it's Chrome, the Chrome web browser. And you want to then set up certain settings inside there. You kind of do a before and after snapshot. So that way, when you deploy the Chrome web browser to your users, it's got, like, say, the home page set up and whatever random settings that you'd like to put in there. You can also use the volume purchase program that we talked about earlier for any App Store apps. File distribution servers are also a key aspect for device management in general. And what that means is you can really set up individual servers in your offices where users can download content from. That helps you save bandwidth. In addition to software, there's special content that you might want to distribute. A typical example of this is ebooks via the iBook store, which we help integrate. And all this can live in that self-service portal that we talked about. This is really where all of your users go to get everything that they need. So you can put all these package files that you create. You can put all of these apps that you buy via VPP and all these books that you get via the iBook store all into self-service, all into one unified portal. We're also doing some interesting things with a technology called iBeacons. iBeacons is a Bluetooth technology that determines proximity versus GPS determining location. And you can do some really cool things with this. For example, we've seen some organizations put iBeacons near their printers. So when an employee approaches that printer, it automatically downloads the correct printer driver for that specific one. And when they leave, you can tell it to delete that printer driver. It makes some proximity-based distribution methods really, really simple. This is really cutting-edge technology, and we're continuing to see more and more people come up with use cases for this. There's also a feature on iOS called guided access, which allows you to lock an iPad or an iPhone down to one app at a time. And we built an app called Casper Focus, specifically to help you manage guided access, where a teacher in a scenario here could distribute an ebook to all of their students right within Casper Focus. So after we deploy the software and content that we need to our users, we of course need to keep track of it all. And that starts with asset management again. So, just like Recon is for your hardware, attributes would help you keep track of any special software that you would like to track. In addition to tracking our own inventory of Macs and iOS devices, a lot of organizations have tools to help manage their PCs. A great example of this is something called SCCM, or Microsoft's System Center. We have a plugin that lets you take the inventory data from SCCM and share it with the Casper Suite. We can, of course, track your licensed software codes as well, too. A prime example of this is something like Adobe Creative Suite or Microsoft Office that you buy from Adobe or Microsoft, and you can plug those licenses into the JSS, and it will help you manage those licenses. So when I assign the Casper Suite, say, to Brandon, the JSS automatically knows that Brandon has the Creative Suite. If you're using apps purchased through the App Store, again, Casper Suite manages all the VPP codes that you use for that. Next up is securing and updating your resources. And that starts with access management. You need to be able to control who has access to the JSS. So you can specify which users have what rights to even do the management side of things. And of course, on the user side, you can control who gets access to certain resources, basically setting up groups. I could say that the entire marketing group has access to Adobe Creative Suite inside of self-service, but the sales team does not. Settings management. You can configure all sorts of different settings on a Mac or on an iOS device. That's basically almost everything that you see inside of system preferences. And we help you set those values. So for example, you could create a policy that says automatically require a password and have the screensaver timeout at a specific time, and require the password upon booting up every single time. Again, making your devices more secure. Taking it a step further is encryption. And that's where we again leverage Apple's native FileVault 2. That's whole disk encryption for your Mac And since it's native, you don't have to worry about any sort of extra add-ons to the operating system. FileVault 2 works where it creates an encryption key, and we can keep those keys all inside of the JSS for you. So you don't have to go around hunting for them ever. Software patching. We can integrate with Apple's software update server. So you can determine on your own schedule when users get Delta updates to the operating system. 10.10.4 just came out. If you weren't ready to deploy that to all of your users, you could choose the schedule and the timetable in which you decide to deploy that out. Now that even goes a step further too, where you can restrict specific applications. When OS X El Capitan comes out here in the fall, you could specifically restrict that install OS 10.app. Or if you're like most schools or companies, you might want to restrict certain things like a BitTorrent client or just any other unapproved software that you specifically want to call out. All possible with the Casper Suite. We also have personal device management. This is a really hot topic, or BYOD. And you want to kind of consider different sets of policies between if it's a personal device or an institutional device. Again, the Casper Suite helps you do all of that. Lastly, you need to support your users, whether that's through tickets that your users submit, and usually to help support them, you want to connect to their screens remotely. So that's why we have Casper Remote, which allows you to connect to your clients via VNC for full control of their screen. Of course, it's then time for new hardware, and you start the whole process over again. So that's why we built the Casper Suite, is to really make IT's lives easier in this entire cycle. To recap, the Casper Suite can do inventory for your hardware, software, and settings, which really leads to cost savings. You can deploy as well, both hardware, software, and settings, which lets you scale your organization. And secure hardware, software, and settings so that you reduce the risk that your organization has when it comes to technology. So now let's take a look at this hands-on here. We're going to do a demo of the Casper Suite. I'm going to go through kind of three things, again, on those tenets of inventory, deploy, and secure. So here we are at our JSS. Again, the JSS is the Jamf software server, and it's a web component. In this case, I am going to log in to our production server, actually. Sorry, 1 second here. Okay. Here is the main screen, and you can see a quick snapshot of how many devices that are managed. Go figure, we happen to have a lot of Apple devices here. I'm going to start off in our Computers tab. We also have a Mobile Devices tab and a Users tab. Once I click on Computers, I have a couple of different options now on my sidebar, but the one I'm really interested in for this portion is Inventory. I can search for specific computers or apps or plugins, etc. But I'm going to just do a blank search and show all devices. So here's all of our Macs. I'm gonna find my own here. There it is. And notice when I click on the details of this, I get a lot of information. From my IP address to the last inventory update, to which user is assigned to it. I also get a lot of details on the hardware. This is almost all the same stuff that you would typically find in this About This Mac screen. Shows me operating system info, user info, disk encryption status. Imagine this. Let's say your organization needs to prove that all of your devices are encrypted. You could run a simple report that looks for this specific value and then say, here, auditing agency, all of our devices are encrypted. Makes it great. Here's where we talked about that licensed software. You can see I've got some specific software titles licensed to me. Or I could even say, show me all the apps that are on this Mac. Very, very powerful stuff here. I'm going to go back to the inventory screen because in addition to pulling one record at a time, you probably want to create various groups. And those are called smart groups. This is a search criteria that's constantly searching for whatever you decide to set it up as. And you can see all these examples that we use internally here. For example, show me all the Macs that are running 10.10, or show me any Mac that has Text Expander installed. It's really easy to make your own. I'll give you just a hint at what these kind of look like here, where you build a set of criteria. And that criteria can be whatever you would like it to be. So in this case, it's looking for FileVault status, and it's going through a lot of specific values. This, of course, is the same over in mobile devices. Inventory, very, very similar. I'll just choose anyone's phone here, or iPad. Very similar stuff. User again, apps. And if I'm doing a smart search, same type of stuff. Okay. I'm going to switch over now to a different JSS that I have full admin rights on. You notice this production one, I can only view it, essentially. I don't have any admin rights on our production one. Our IT staff would be a little pissed at me if I started doing a lot of stuff in there. So I'm going to go into our demo one, where I do have full admin access. And we're going to look at deploying. So deploying is really all about enrolling the devices first and then applying certain settings to them. I'm not going to go too deep into the enrollment process since this is just a kind of 101 webinar, but we do have a lot of other webinars that dive deeper into that. I highly encourage you to look at ones that go deeper into like device enrollment programs specifically. So once a device is enrolled, we can go into something called policies and configuration profiles to set these values. Again, I'm going to start on the Mac here, but it's very similar to mobile devices. Configuration profiles use Apple's MDM protocol, Mobile Device Management Protocol. And these are simple files that apply various settings. So let's go in here and say all of the users need to have our corporate Wi-Fi, right? And I'm going to supply the password for them. And they also need VPN settings. And so I can plug in whatever connection type that I use. You'll notice these are all the connection types that are supported by OS X. So it's really, really easy to do some of this stuff. Once I determine all of these settings that I want, I can scope it to who gets it. And those can be specific users, they could be specific computers, or they could be groups of people as well too. And those groups and users can synchronize over from your LDAP services. So if you're using Active Directory or Open Directory or any other LDAP, those users and groups can come into your JSS and you would be able to see those here. I don't have mine linked up to anything, but you can imagine what it would look like here. In addition to profiles, we've got policies. Policies are specific to the Mac. And policies will talk directly to the operating system and execute commands based on a hidden management account on there. So you get really, really wide range of control. Let's take a look at what you can do. So first off, this is the most popular one that people use for policies is package files. So let's say I use Composer to make a package, and I save that package file. In this case, let's say the Flash update or Google Chrome. I load that into the JSS, and then I add it. From there, I can then distribute it out to whoever needs it. I can do other things like scripts and adding printers or adding accounts too. Again, I can scope it to whoever needs this stuff. One unique thing about policies is that you can have it be executed on a specific trigger. So those triggers could be when the computer starts up, when it logs in, logs out, etc. Versus profiles only happen once, essentially. So that's kind of the deploy portion of the demo. Then the last portion of the demo is secure. And when it comes to security, you're going to want to do a lot of different things. But the one I want to highlight is disk encryption. This is FileVault 2. And this is where you can enforce disk encryption for all of your devices, and then have the keys automatically be escrowed back into the JSS. Again, it's just a simple matter of choosing your settings here. You probably also want to apply certain profiles that have a passcode configured on there that require them to have a passcode. And if you want to take it a step further, you could even restrict what system preference panes that they have access to. So to recap, you could do inventory, you can deploy your devices, and you can secure them. So we're coming up here at the end, and we'll do a Q&A right after this. So I just want to respect everyone's time. So if you'd like to get started, if this is interesting to you, reach out to us. Just hit us up at jamfsoftware.com. We've got a live chat where folks will answer your questions that you have right over the internet. If you'd like to request a trial, so if you'd like to have access to your own JSS in a demo environment for a while, you can do that. And of course, you can call us anytime and we'd be happy to talk with you all about how the Casper Suite can really be tailored for your specific environment. If you'd like to learn more, we've got a wide range of webinars online too. Again, this is kind of more of a 101 level, so if you'd like to go deeper, I'd highly recommend checking out things like simplifying deployment with DEP and VPP, or if you're in schools, or in education, check out the Deploy One-to-One iPad program is great too. Lots of wonderful webinars. So at this time, I'd like to thank everyone for joining, and please feel free to attend more of these in the future. Thank you.